Childhood biases. Childhood biases, in some cases, can keep us from asking for what we want or advocating for ourselves. This is a learned behavior in childhood. The reason why we have this childhood bias is because we believe that in order to get our needs met, it's either going to be difficult or people are going to say no. Most likely, if you have that belief, it's because you grew up with an egocentric parent or an emotional unavailable or emotional immature parent. An oppressive egocentric parent or an emotionally immature parent, what this looks like in childhood is when you advocate for yourself, when you have a need or a want and you go to your parent, you get immediately shut down. That might look like being spoken to very harshly. That might look like verbal abuse. That might look like physical abuse. That might look like being punished, going without because you spoke up. How dare you speak up for your needs and wants? And what that teaches you as a child is not to ask for what you want and not to advocate for yourself in fear that you're going to receive a harsh response or a no or some type of abuse or neglect. You conclude not to petition for yourself, not to advocate for your needs and wants. And what this does is create an ego-deficient person, an individual who gives until they are depleted or deficient. You conclude it's better to suffer in silence in order to keep yourself emotionally or physically safe while coexisting with an oppressive, egocentric parent or caregiver. An egocentric person is someone who is all about themselves, even to the detriment of others. An ego-deficient person is someone who is all about anything but themselves to the depletion of themselves. Again, this is a learned behavior in childhood, a survival tool that you use in order to coexist with an egocentric or immature parent. Most of these individuals grow to be adults who are codependent and people pleasers. This creates a fearfulness, and this is why you struggle to advocate for yourself and to have healthy boundaries and standards for yourself. That is the childhood bias. The childhood bias is that my needs and wants aren't going to get met because someone either isn't going to meet them or I'm going to receive a harsh response. But the key to shifting that narrative and perspective is realizing that life is not like your childhood and you're an adult now. So for example, when you were a child, you were told not to touch the stove. But as an adult, you need to touch the stove in order for you to, take care of yourself and cook for yourself to meet your nutritious needs, right? So there are things that we learned in childhood that don't apply in our adulthood, right? You have to renew your mind. So that's one of the things you have to see, that people aren't like your parents or the adults that you grew up around. And you get to, as an adult, choose. Your free will is your freedom of choice. So what that will look like is choosing adults who don't have the same type of personality traits as those egocentric adults that you grew up around or those caregivers. Choosing opposite personalities. And that can be difficult sometimes because we've normalized that dysfunction. We've normalized people raging at us. We've normalized people putting their hands on us because our parents didn't respect us. And that is our first blueprint of ourselves, our parents. And so when our parents and caregivers disrespect us, we grow up feeling invalidated and feeling unworthy. So as an adult, you get to choose the type of energy and people you want around you. And if you want that to be a reflection of healthiness, or if you want that to be a reflection of your health and well-being, then you have to choose company that represents health and well-being in their actions, in their conversations, etc. You get to become the wise parent to yourself. So what that looks like, for example, being the wise parent, if your child came to you and said, my boyfriend, he loves me so much, but he puts his hands on me, he cheats on me, he lies to me, he gaslights me, he manipulates me, would you tell your child to stay with that man or woman? Think about it. Your child is coming to you and saying that she or he is dealing with the things you're dealing with in your narcissistic relationship. Now, if you get an emotion off of that, like, oh no, my child better not, why is it okay for you then? You see what I'm saying? So you have to be the wise parent to yourself and show yourself the kindness and love and respect that you have received in childhood, and show up for yourself today so that you can live the latter days of your life in peace, with respect, and experiencing love, even if it is for the first time.